Hello, my dear readers slash listeners. So I was going to put out a post about something completely different, and I'm like, whatever, I'm going to do again an improv. So here I am. Today the moon is in Gemini, and I just feel like that the whole since morning. Should I do this? No, let's try this. No, maybe this will be better. And by tomorrow, it's going to be joining, it's going to be in a sandwich between Mars and Jupiter squaring Saturn. And also the very open square with Venus. And today we had squared the Sun. What does that even mean? Let me look at another. Yeah. So the interesting thing is this. I have been receiving a lot of information. I do meditations, very deep meditations that are guided to enter into other states of consciousness. And they're quite amazing, actually. If you want to have access, just DM me. I'm not going to publish here what they are. But if you are really sincere about wanting to connect at other states of consciousness, since I've been doing these meditations, I see that everything that is happening in my life is actually unfolding in a way that there's no pressure, there's no stress, there's no anxiety, there's no fear. I have become more focused on what I'm here to do and how I'm here to support the alignment of myself, obviously. First, me. Second, me. Third, me. When all my needs and values are taken care of, then I can open up my 27 gate and care for those who are responsible enough and accountable enough to want to have a relationship to myself through their own accountability. So it sounds very transactional, and actually it is. One of the things that is important about relationships is to understand that we cannot compromise our own authenticity, because that means that we're going to always be living from expectations, and that's a big problem. When we expect things to happen in a certain way, we will be disappointed down the line. So just to keep things back in the surface, what I'm trying to say is this: if we live in the now, if we reconnect to who we are, if we allow, for instance, sound is the first sense that we hear in the womb before we're born inside of our mother, and it's the last sound, is the last sense that we hear before passing. And I know that. I know it because I've been receiving this information, and I saw my mother the weeks before she died. Actually a year ago, she was no longer capable of eating or speaking because she had just had a stroke. She could communicate with her eye and with her hand. She could actually just move her hand a little bit, and I will do a lot of sound healing, and she would be very responsive. And I know that because I've been working with sound for a little bit now. Because sound is really a way to support our electromagnetic fields, and those are, if you want to know what they are, it's where emotions are kind of living. The emotions are like a big wave, and that's why it's impossible to control the wave in the ocean. What you got to do is learn how to surf it, learn how to observe the frequency that it has, and see how can you ride it or just let it pass. So I'm saying all this is because there's a lot going on, like as usual. The outside world is kind of like this how do you call, like a season of Game of Thrones or Breaking Bad, one of those like series that I used to watch. I don't watch TV anymore. I don't watch Netflix. I don't watch any of those programming devices. But back in the day, you couldn't wait for the new season to start. So there was always these cliffhangers and like, what's going to happen? So the latest news is like censorship is very much in vogue in Europe. It is trending. And what does that mean? It means that we have to have the awareness that it might come to the United States. And this is interesting. A lot of people in the United States that live here, that were born here, they don't understand that the Constitution of this amazing country is probably the only place on earth that your right to free speech and to be able to communicate of your belief systems or whatever you're thinking, it's protected by the same Constitution. But we have given our power away. And I'm not going to get into this because it's a whole different rabbit hole that I was not planning to. But the interesting thing is, like, there's a lot of stuff that seems to be at stake. Actually, doesn't seem, it is a stake. But instead of like freaking out, what I'm doing is actually reconnecting and realigning who I really came to be. And so it brings back my optimism. It brings this ability that I have of hope, of being able to understand what other people need, to be able to be practical about it. So in human design, my cognition, I have the perspective side. It's on the 4th line. That means that I'm very in tune with the needs of others. And I also want to offer practical solutions about it. And so this is the only logical part that I have in my cognition. Everything else is very receptive. My body, my mind, and my brain are very receptive. And I'm always there kind of getting all the information. But then when I sense that there's something that is needed and I can have this view perspective of the whole of what is needed, and then I can actually implement the solution. So at this point, I basically, I'm not saying that my solutions are the solutions, but I can offer to the collective some sort of practices. I am very practical. So when I want to talk about these things, I want to give up resolutions that have worked for me. And so that's what I'm saying right now. So this week, next week, we're going to have a new moon. I'm going to read a post that I did yesterday. It says, "It is high time for a cleanup. All souls still dependent on any form of authority are suffering because they have no idea how to be sovereign. They have no agency and have become parasites. I had a vision of what is to come, and the changes will be amazing depending on the timeline one chooses. The state of consciousness will match your frequency. There is a menu for everyone. If your inclination is to complain and whine, you will be directed straight to the 9th circle of hell." Just in parentheses, Dante's hell. On the other hand, if you're already utilizing the energy of the Saturn-Jupiter square to devise wise strategies for meeting your true self by July 2025, you rock. The transpersonal planets, social construct planets, and nodes will all be changing signs. All I can say is that what it is to be manifested in civilization is being shaped by every soul at this very right moment. So elevate your vibrations and realign with your wavelength. The future is here now. So I'm going to talk more about this as weeks come, because I'm setting up like a pattern that I am following with a precise strategy of how within my chart I can implement these energies that are available not just for me but in the collective, and how I can tune it into it and realize that I can actually resonate with the energy and therefore attract other souls that are in the same with the same aspiration. And then we can all together, but individually, realize what we're here for. So it's not about holding hands and just like, copy me and do this. No, it's the contrary. It's like being supportive of everybody else that you see that is doing the work. This is my message for this week. Love you guys. Almost finished with my book. I know I sound like a broken record. I don't care. There is light always at the other side of the darkness. You just have to pick up your finger and turn on the switch. Have a great week. Ciao, ciao. Oh, I forgot to say what the trances are meaning. So I'm going to just give some archetypes and then you play and you make your own soup of letters, okay? So Saturn is still in Pisces at 16 degrees, and Saturn is definition and reality, and Pisces is the end of it, forgiveness, going back to source. it has a square right now with the sandwich that I was talking about, Jupiter, the moon, and Mars in Gemini. So Gemini is about really connecting to those things that are very logical, that you can label, nominate, and you can discover with curiosity and understand what they mean. But before you go deeper into meaning, you actually are just recognizing what they are. So it's about the labeling. But Jupiter is there. So Jupiter wants to go further and deeper into, not necessarily deeper, but further into understanding the meaning of things, the meaning of these new ideas. The moon is there saying, hey, I want to embody emotionally these ideas to see if with Mars we can initiate a new strategy, because it's making a square with Saturn, for the future that can be so expansive, and where these ideas that are novel, they're new, can actually be implemented long term. Now we also have the square a little bit earlier today with the sun, and it's like something's going to come out from the outside that is going to remind us that we have to look at the things that we're not taking care of. Like, for instance, in my case, I did a whole strategy this morning about the little habits, Virgo, that I'm not taking care of. Like little things like picking up the clothes, or like, open the closet and see that it's not perfectly organized like it should be. Yeah, Mom, I can still remember those yellings at my closet. Or, for instance, how am I relating to my body, and how am I valuing those habits, because Venus is there. So there's a lot of discernment, and that can actually sustain the structure that I want to build for the future, and how I want to embody those ideas in the future. But they need a structure, and they need sort of like a ritual that are going to make them happen. So there's a lot of like time-based understanding of dreams that can be reshaped, and that's why I spoke a little bit about reshaping the future in the collective. Depends very much on how you individually are taking care of that. So I'm not going to say more about the chart, but I think that we're in a very good place. Again, go for it.